Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Britannia Season 3, the Rundown Rant Review. Yes, I have to rant about this because I'm no longer sure what direction the show is going in, because even though there were some things that were cool about Season 3, it's just kind of like, what was the point in this entire story arc that could have been wrapped up in 2 or 3 episodes, but you didn't have to drag it out for 8 whole episodes? And that's basically what they did. Now, if they would have added some of these elements to season 2, I would have been a bit more happier with season 2, because it seemed like some of this stuff should have happened in season 2, but it didn't. And so it's kind of like this show really needs to wrap up. This should have been like a 3-season show from how the first season started. And they keep trying to drag it on and make it more interesting and changing stuff and dropping storylines and dropping characters. And it's kind of like, where are they going? Like, what direction are they going? Do the writers even know anymore? Like, I'm not even sure. And so it's like they haven't been renewed for a 4th season yet. And this 3rd season's been out for a while. I do hope they get a 4th season because I want to see how this is all going to end. And so it's like, and also one reason why I'm a little upset is because it's kind of like, if a lot of this would have been like presented in season 1, then I probably would have been a bit more okay, because I would have known the exact direction the show is going in. But it just keeps getting more and more overly complex and stuff. And I just don't understand why they're doing that. Like, okay, here's the thing. The first season, they introduced the whole, okay, Rome is invading Britain, just like it happened in real life, you know what I'm saying? And so I assumed, okay, it's going to show the invasion and how they occupied it for a couple of years and this and that. But then they decided to add it in sorcery. I'm like, okay, fine, like whatever, you know what I'm saying, in season 1. And they kept on that whole theme of Romans invading and like taking over the land and manipulating people and stuff like that. And then they introduced this whole chosen one to stop the general and everything. But the general has like other motives other than just taking over Britannia for that of Rome. He wants to release the demon god. Well, I don't know if he's a god. He's known as a land demon named Loka. And so they really never explain what this Loka was or what he's supposed to do or this and that. But it's like, whatever, fine, and it's kind of cool because this little tiny girl named Kate went on this entire journey of, trying to rescue her father and, being invaded by the Romans and running from them, and they're tracking her down, and they introduced all these cool characters. But then they started killing people off that was very interesting in season 1, because they tried to have stakes and everything, and it worked. But also it sucked because we want to see these characters. Now, the lack of action does suck, but when they do have action, like I said before, is great. Then we get into season 2. In season 2, 2 years has passed in season 1, and the chosen one and her protector are like on the run, and Rome is still invading. People have betrayed one another. The chosen one, Kate, is learning her druid like powers and stuff of how to defeat the evil, but we don't understand how she's given these powers if she's not like a druid. And it's kind of like, okay, is it going to be like a spiritual, magical battle? Or like, what's it going to be? So that's when they started drifting away from that of the realism in season 1 and started going more in the fantasy route. We see her turn into a fish. We see her be able to drive like demons out of people's souls. And then they introduce the dead man, the firstborn man, who is the brother of the Veran, who is 10,000 years old. And so the 2nd season focused a lot on that of Veran and that of Queen Amina, when she was just like a regular. In the 1st season, Amina was just like a skank, trying to like climb the capital ladder and everything by sleeping around. Then in season 2, she becomes like the queen and everything because of that like social ladder that she climbed. But then they went into this whole other aspect of introducing the Lake of Tears and how her daughter is supposed to be the keeper of it and all this other stuff, and it's supposed to be this huge division between the druids. Some are going with that of Harka, the dead man, and others are going with Vernon. So you assume it's going to be this big climactic type thing, and then it wasn't. And then so it's kind of like, well, what was the point in that? And then so then you get into season 3, and then now all this stuff that got introduced into season 2, like the whole Lake of Tears and Harka and all this other stuff, gets completely dropped. It gets name dropped one time, and that's it, for a simple explanation. But now they're introducing more stuff and a new character that's very interesting and a new subplot. And it's just kind of like, what direction is this show going in? I get it. They want to be a historical fantasy type show. That's fine. And that's what's really intriguing and interesting about this show. And I stand by what I say when I say this, the first season is better than Game of Thrones. But then, even though I never watched past season 1 of Game of Thrones, coming to these other 2 seasons, I still think they're okay and everything. It's just kind of like, what direction are you going in? You have to have a clear vision. And it's almost like every season they just like, okay, let's come up with something completely different and new, and let's drop what we did in the last season. So it's like this whole Harka, the dead man, the brother of Vernon, all this other stuff, completely dropped in season 3. The whole Lake of Tears completely dropped. They get name dropped. They just say that Harka, when he died 10,000 years ago, he was laid to rest in the river of tears and blah, 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 blah. And that's basically it. That's it. So what was the point in that entire subplot, making us think that this whole Lake of Tears thing, a person supposed to die and be reborn, is supposed to be so big and huge in season 2? Like, what was the point? And then what was the point in introducing Amina's daughter and everything? It really wasn't. And giving her that tragic backstory just for us to like her. Because what they do to Amina in season 3, it's just kind of like, dude, why did you do that for? And it makes absolutely no sense. Now she's going back to that of season 1, where she's just betraying people left and right. So what was the point of her and Vernon reuniting at the end of season 2? Because nothing became of that. And when it comes to that of Kate, she is like so much more different than what she was in season 1 and of that in season 2. In season 1, she was this sweet, innocent, naive little girl who had her world rocked because of that of the Romans and her father being blind and her having to free him all by herself and everything. Well, a little help from Divis, but mostly by herself. And it showed how courageous and everything she was. She was able to fend off wolves by herself after they had, like, she hurt herself and her leg was messed up. She was still able to fight them off and everything. She is able to hunt. She's able to forge her own weapons. She protected her father, and she's being pursued by the Romans who want her deader than dead. And so they made her this very interesting character in season 1. Then we get into season 2, and now she's learning all these magical powers, but she's become more mouthy and whiny and irritating and stuff. And basically every time, like, she doesn't get her way, she gets like frustrated and stubborn and everything like that. Then at the end of season 2, this dude who she started falling in love with very quickly, by the way, he dies and everything. And this causes her to say, like, screw the gods and everything like this. And somehow she's coming for him. Well, we didn't know exactly who she meant, but then we find out in the first episode of season 3. So in the first episode, she's barely shown, right? And so, like, we see her making a cross on a tree and then throwing daggers at it in the middle of the episode. Then towards the end, she heads to the druid camp. And when she heads to the druid's camp, she goes to talk to that of the Vernon. She completely passes that of Divis, doesn't even want to talk to him and everything. Her appearance is more different than what it was in the past. And so when she talks to him, he's telling her like this and that and how you're chosen by the gods and everything. And she's just like, screw the gods. And then in one huge swipe, she cuts the neck of the Vernon. And he's bleeding from his neck, slowly dying and everything. And she just runs out. And it's just like, dude, why did you do that for? And because she says all because, oh, lost the love of her life, and everybody she's like loved is dying and or dead or something like that, because she lost her grandfather, she lost her sister, her dad is blind, wandering the world, she don't know where he's at, and then she fell in love with this dude for all of like a couple of weeks and everything, and then so she doesn't want to be the chosen one no more. She wants to be a normal little girl and everything, and she still hasn't even chosen her name, and she decides she's gonna give her name to that of her original name, Kate. And she hates the gods, she hates the druids now, and so she just slices his throat and leaves. And she knows she is the chosen one, because the world is gonna be like a worse place off if she doesn't kill like the general and Loka and all that stuff. And so she just gets all like whiny and stubborn and just like cuts his throat and just like leave. And then so like after that, I was shocked and surprised by her behavior. She's just wandering around like the world now, because now a year has passed since season 2. So she's just wandering around, and she sees a Roman camp. Like, a Romans have occupied this one town and they're building up shop. And she decides just to stroll on in there. And I'm just thinking, dude, they're looking for you. They were going to kill you, but they don't know what she looks like. Only a couple of Romans do. So she covers up the markings on her forehead with some dirt or clay or whatever, because that's supposed to tell who she is and stuff like that. And she just strolls into town. She wants to buy like boots and everything, but she has no money. So now she needs to make some easy cash. So what does she do? She uses the skills that Divis taught her with the whole pebble thing to like bewitch a person. So she starts like bewitching them. Then she starts like playing that shuffle game with a pebble, and she starts making some money. And so now she's conning people. She's a grifter now. That's what she's doing in the first like 5 episodes and everything. And she's just grifting people. And it's just like, this is the direction you're taking the show. And then the lead hero, she's a grifter now. She's a con artist and everything. Like, what is this? And there's only 8 episodes in this like season and stuff. But first, let me explain some other things, because she meets a very interesting character. So, this season is taking more of a biblical feel and vibe to it. So the first season was more historical, the second season was more fantasy, and now the third is more Bible, church stuff. And remember, so like, what is it? Remember Perfectus, Lucius from first season, and how he blinded Kate's father, remember? And he was part of the prophecy, but they didn't know it. And then remember in season 2, I told you there was a man on the cross and he started stabbing that man and he killed the woman in the hut. Remember how I said I thought that was Jesus and the Virgin Mary? Well, it was. And so, they have now established that that's who it is and everything. And that spear he used with the blood of Jesus on it is now known as the spear of the Silver Dawn, which of course that's the name they gave it for the show, but of course it's the spear of destiny, it's the holy spear, it's the spear from the Bible that stabbed like Jesus, and then he like woke after that and stuff like that after being on the crucifix. So this spear has been shown in fiction so many times. It was on Legends of Tomorrow and like all kind of stuff, right? And so he buried it somewhere in Britannia. Don't know why he buried it there, because he was out in Jerusalem and then he killed them, and then for some reason he came to Britannia, buried it there, went back to Rome, and then years later came back to Britannia again. So why did he bury it in Britannia? They never really explained it. So he has been looking for Kate, and as she's grifting people and everything, he sees her and he saves her a little bit, because she's getting herself in a little bit of trouble with some people. And so as he's talking to her and everything, she don't know who he is. He knows exactly who she is. And so he's talking and he's all like, let me tell you a story because I've traveled all around the world. And he tells her, I've done bad stuff. I used to be a Roman guard and everything in the army. She starts to get worried after this. And then he starts talking more and more and more. And she realizes now who he is because she saw him blind her father years ago. But she couldn't really recognize him because she was in a faraway distance and he had shorter hair and he dressed different. And he tells her, look, you have to get this spear. You have to, like, fulfill your destiny. She's all like, no. And then she just like runs off from him. So he tries to chase her down, but he's unable to catch her. And so he has an interesting arc in this entire story, but it's emotional, but it feels kind of wasted, but it's emotional and stuff. So let me get into, before I finish with him and Kate, let me get into that of the general and everything, Agulis, because he takes a weird turn for the weird in this season. Now, right off the bat, one thing I've noticed about this season, all of the men tend to be weak. Like it is. They're like the ones that were written very strongly and everything in the past seasons are now former shells of themselves and just weak. The general, they do a backstory with him. It turns out he had a son. His son wanted nothing more but to be like a Roman like general, just like his father and stuff. And the general loved his son. But then something happened. He took his son to a dark room. And there we see a black woman named Hempa, and he sacrifices his son. She stabs the boy. And it's kind of like, why did he do this for? And it's not explained to much later, and not really truly explained at all. And then so after that happens, guess what? They cook him up and eat him. I'm like, what? So there are cannibals now in this show? And so this woman Hempa, it turns out that she has traveled all the way to Britannia from Rome to be with Agulius. Why? Because that's his wife from many years ago. Now, the boy they sacrificed, that's his son, not hers. And she is a high priestess. She's also into some dark magic. She is always 2 steps ahead of everybody. Hempa is a very captivating character. She's quirky, she's zany, she's scary. Like every time she's in the room, you fear she's gonna do something terrible because she is. She's a very odd person. But she's just introduced out of the blue. So it's like he's been married this entire time and nobody knew it. And so Amina, like I said, is still there. And it's like, why is she still there? She's supposed to be pissed at Agulius before what happened to her sister and stuff. How he used her and stuff. And so Agulius, he becomes just a whimpering, whiny husband in this season. Like, I'm not even joking. That strong man he used to be from season 1, completely thrown out the door to make him just as weak can possible can be. He hates his wife. He fears his wife. He does everything his wife says. He just whines left and right. And so, like, I just don't understand how why would they do this to this character? He's supposed to be like a villain and everything. Why would they make him just in like a little like a whiny husband and stuff? And so Lucius, he came back into the Roman camp and he stole a golden sword that was meant for Agulius and everything. And he replaced it with that of like a tiny little stick that looks like some people confused. They didn't know it was a sword, a crucifix, or what it was. And so he knows who stole it and everything, but we don't know who helped him. It's Victus, the black dude with all the scars around his face. But we don't know why he's helping Lucius. Because in the last season, Victus, he let Lucius go after capturing him and out of his whole respect and blah 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 stuff like that. And so remember he ratted the general out to that the assistant dude. And so he was heading back to Rome to tell everything that happened until the dead man bewitched him and everything and made him kill the people he wrote that confession to, and then he took the confession. So now that he's no longer under the dead man's spell because the dead man is gone, why didn't he just go back to Rome for some reason? unless he must have tore up the confession, but he could have just wrote it again. And so he stays there for some bizarre reason. So Amina knows that he helped Lucius, and she wants to do some kind of like magical stuff for some bizarre reason. So we think, okay, because she still wants her revenge. But then in comes Hempa, and this stops them. He knows who Hempa is, and he fears her and stuff. I can't believe what happened after this. So she's trying to figure out what's been going on and everything, and this whole Loca thing. And so she kills Vitus, and she cooks his body up. Amina is shocked by all of this. And then you know what they all did after this? Hempa, and Agrulius and the people she brought with her, they feast on Vitus' body. And then they have a huge orgy and everything. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. When did this show turn into this? And so why would they get rid of such a cool character? And also, why didn't he sing his song from season 2 that's supposed to protect him, that they introduced? Why didn't they do any of this? So Agulius wakes up from the orgy and he's just like, crap, because he didn't want to do none of this stuff. And so he apologizes to Amina, talking about like, I'm sorry you was partaking all that. I guess she must have ate them too or something. And so it's like a huge orgy full of like naked people. And so then he gets furious and he gets a new prefectus and everything. This larger dude who's a lot nicer and everything. The new prefectus dude, I don't even know his name. It doesn't matter. He doesn't even show up in that many episodes. He's just a lot nicer. He has a wife. He's faithful to his wife. He tells Hempa's women to cover up their boobs and everything. They don't want to. They keep seducing him, and he's like, I'm a married man. So something happened between them, but we don't know what. And then so he's just like all around nice guy who's a lot nicer and stuff. And so Agrulius tells him, hey man, you know, I don't understand my wife, man. Like, a woman's place is to like be home and take care of the kids when the soldiers are out and they ain't supposed to join their husband on the battlefield. He's like, you know what, man? When you see my wife, you tell her that. You tell her place is in Rome. He won't tell his wife that because he's too scared of her and stuff. But the new prefectus doesn't have a chance to tell her either. And so, now, like I said before, Lucius, he's trying to find Kate, but he takes the sword, the golden sword, and he plants it in a tree, which Hempa, of course, finds and all this other stuff. Now, Hempa tells Agulius that with the help of Willow, see, Willow is now a prisoner of the general, and she can't leave. He has bewitched her with the powers of Loca and stuff. And Amina is trying to help Willa and everything. She's all like, I can't leave. Like, I'm his servant. Like, whatever he asks of her, she has to automatically tell and stuff. And so Amina's all like, I can help you. So she's like, all right, fine. Go out into the woods, get these ingredients. I think the potion, the poison that she comes up with is supposed to paralyze a person or something like that. So she's all like, when this all happens, you can finally escape and all this other stuff. And she tells her, you know, I have the ability to escape. I just can't go through the doors and everything because she found the passageway and everything, but like she's under the spell. So Amina's gonna help. So she takes the potion and she goes into like the chamber where Hempa and Agulius is at, and they have some wine, and the scenery is set up like, you know, okay, she's waiting for them to take a drink, a sip, and then. But of course, Hempa is on to her and stuff like that and doesn't really take it. But then all of a sudden she takes it. And then when she takes it, they're kind of weird and everything, right? In comes Willow thinking she can finally be free. And she goes into the chamber, but no. Amina has betrayed her for some bizarre reason. And it's not explained why. And so what happens? Hempa takes Willow's arm, her left arm, cuts it off, cooks it up, and they all eat it because they're cannibals for some bizarre reason now. And so Willow is terrified and scared, and she's just worried. And so Hempa tells her, tell me everything. And so at some point, Willow gives hemp some red yarn twine. Why? Well, we'll find out later on in the season, because I didn't know what the world this was for. Because they didn't explain it until the very end. And so we still don't know why Amina betrayed that of Willow and stuff. And basically, she says she's no longer pissed at the general, and she's more mad at the druids and stuff and Vernon. And so, like, yeah, that don't make no sense. So Hempa tells Julius that she knows now of Kate's sister in the underworld, and if we can release her from the underworld and make her do what we want, then she can tell Kate to go to a certain way and we can ambush her. Agulius, even though he thinks it's a good plan, he doesn't like it because Hempa came up with it and not him. So in a way, he travels back to the underworld and stuff. Now, by this time, the Vernon is slowly dying and everything. And they're trying to put him in a healing tub and everything. It's just not working. They have to prepare for the worst. They have to prepare that he is going to die, and they have to get a replacement. The replacement, Vernon, is this tiny little boy. And so Dibbs is like distraught by all this and everything. And so he has to prepare the Vernon for like the afterworld. And so while Agulius is in the underworld and trying to talk to Kate's sister, Vernon, who is slowly slipping into the underworld, stops him from talking to her and shows him like a different vision. This vision is completely different from that of season 1, but it's similar to it and everything. And so, because the Vernon barely shows up in this season, but then all of a sudden, knock on the coffin door. It is Vernon. He survives the attack and he's alive now. But even though he's alive, he barely shows up in the season. Now, Mackenzie Crook, who plays him, directs a lot of these episodes. And he's really good at directing these episodes, too. Now, former Queen Antidia, she shows back up and everything. And so, because remember, she was barely in season 2, only for like a couple of seconds. Well, when she shows back up, she's living with these people who bought her and everything, and they treat her like crap. She is the house servant. They make her cook for them. They keep their dead mother corpse on the table. They're the barbaric type, nasty people, savages type people. And so they make her sit in like in a hole with poop and all kind of stuff, and they do all kind of nasty stuff to her. Well, one of them likes her and everything, and so she persuades him when she sees this type of, I think like a moon plant or something like that. She sees it and she tells him, go pick tons of them and we can put it in the stew and it would taste magnificent and everything. So this type of plant, it basically paralyzes a person. So she uses it to paralyze the family. She frees herself. She ties them all up, but she takes the one that likes her out and puts them in like this type of thing. Then she sets the whole thing on fire, killing those people in a blaze of glory and everything. And then after this, she has revenge. She wants Agulius and stuff. So while in town, she sees Kate, not knowing who she is and stuff, and because she sees her grifting people. So Antidia, she needs money as well to rebuild what she's lost because she wants to kill the general. So they start grifting people left and right, and for 5 episodes, that's really all they do. Just like grifting people, running from one place to another, planning their next thing. And I'm just like, really? You spending 5 episodes on this? And so, and what is it? At some point they go to like a Roman camp because she's gonna sell them some oil that like burns really like strong. And so Kate doesn't want to be there because it's the Romans and stuff. And so what does Antidia do? She hops on a chariot with the oil, set it on fire. She busts through the door with all the guards in there drinking, and she sets all the Roman guards on fire. And she's just like celebrating outside. She's having a great time this season. But then after this, she becomes her boring self, her boring, rude self again and everything. At some point in time, she's in a village with Kate and they spot Lucius. He's trying to get Kate's attention, but then all of a sudden she runs into her blind father. That's convenient. So Kate's all happy. She's with her father and everything. And she tells him what she's done. And he's upset because he's like, look, you're the chosen one. You're supposed to protect this land and blah, 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 blah. And she's all like, I don't want to do it no more and all this other stuff. Well, at some point in time, we see our two favorite deserters who love to get high, Brutus and Philon. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually them. Wikipedia says it is, but IMDb says it's not, so I'm not sure. Plus, they're so dirty in the face, you can't really tell who they are. And one of them looks different, but I think it is them, I think. They have now been captured by the Romans and everything. And so at some point, they see Lucius and they're like, hey, it's us, free us. So this gets the attention of the rest of the guards and they cause a lot of catastrophe. Lucius is now captured by the Romans. As Kate and her father are trying to run, he's telling her to run. He's trying to fight off the Romans and he can't see, but he has a stick in his hand. And then it happens. He gets run over by a chariot. The most random thing of all. He gets ran over by chariot. The horses are stomping at his head as they're running over him with the wheels of the chariot, and he dies. Just like that. Just like that. He dies. So of course Kate is upset. She's distraught. She doesn't want to do nothing no more. And Antidia is trying to calm her down, but nothing's gonna happen. And so at some point in time, they head back to that of the Druids and stuff. Now, one thing I never mentioned, Philon, he has become the extreme comedic relief now of this season. He is wimpy. I don't know what happened to this dude. In season 1, he was conniving, smart and caring. And then the second season, he was bewitched by the dead man. And now he's just comedic relief. And now he has to change his name since he's part of the Druids now. He's Quant and everything. And Divis has to teach him the ways of earth, wind, and fire, and all this, and water, and all this other stuff. Divis doesn't want to do that, but he has to now. And so you would think that him and Amina would have some screen time together because they are in the same druid camp. But no, I mean, he plays with his son, but that don't happen. In fact, him and her only have screen time once for a brief second in the 7th episode. I'm just I don't understand. They traveled together. They had a son together, and she cared about him in the second season when she saw he was bewitched. So why aren't they having any screen time this season? Well, we see Kate and Tina now are with the Druids. Tina doesn't want to be there. So Kate tells Vernon she's not sorry. She would have done it again and blah, 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 blah. But now she understands she has to stop the whatchamacallem dude. And so they give her new armor and she has to, this is when it starts to get Lord of the Ringish. She has a fellowship because they have to find the spear. And Vernon tells them this spear is is the key to stopping the bad dude, and he's giving a big speech and everything, and she interrupts the speech and she's all like, no, this is not the God's will. I do this because I want to, and blah 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 and blah 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 and everything. And so she has to pick a group of people that will go with her to find Lucius in this spear. So of course she chooses Philon, which I don't know why, because he doesn't know how to fight and he's comedic relief. She chooses Divis because he taught her everything, but they barely have any screen time, and she's not as rude to him as she was in season 2 with the screaming and the cussing. I missed that, but she's just she's just taking leadership role and doesn't want to listen to him no more. And she takes Anya and stuff. And then she takes this new guy named Rain. He's another part of the Druids. There seem to be 3 divisions so far of Druids. They're the moss-looking people who are spiritual. They are the more mean-looking warrior-type people who no longer show up in this show. And now there are these people who dress a lot better and they look more like Canty, and that's who Rain is for. And he befriends that of Kate, which makes Divis very jealous. And so they need a tracker. They find Hella and everything. She's still doing things on her own. She's still a cool character, one-liner. She gives them her sister, who's good at tracking, named Drula. And she tells Drula, because this is something that interesting that happens. At some point, Anya goes to scout someplace, and who does she meet? She meets Hempa. She's got her sword ready, talking about like, don't you come no closer, but Hempa bewitches her with that of a butterfly on her cheek. She goes back in the camp, and nobody knows she's bewitched, but Hella's just kind of like, it's like a cool scene. This is one episode that Mackenzie directed. She's all like, when the fellowship is like formed, she's talking to Drula, and Drula is a very large woman who doesn't talk. She picks at her own scab. She poops a lot and everything. And it's just, she's just a weird kind of character, silent but deadly type character. And she tells her, keep an eye on that one. Now we don't know who she's talking about because the camera won't go to it. Mackenzie does a cool trick. He keeps the camera on Drula, and so we don't even see Hella, and she's all like, not that one. And we see Drula's eyes just like shifting left and right and just going in different directions. She's like, not that one, not that one, not that one, that one. And then we finally see who she's talking about, and it's Anya. She's all like, I don't know what's wrong with her and everything, but like she senses something's wrong with her. She's all like, I don't know what it is, but it is and everything. And she just leaves. And she's all like, you keep an eye on her and everything. And so she does keep an eye on her, but not a very good eye. Drula's just kind of like, whatever, you know? Like she sees her constantly hanging out with Kate. When Kate is sleeping, we see Anya just looking over her, and Drula does like nothing. And so now it's like a whole fellowship thing. They're traveling, they're meeting new Britannian type people. We meet the Sun people. We meet these other people who look barbaric, who know who Antidia is. And so they're making fun of the Canty, and they're making fun of Philon. She's all like, I hate Pellinor, I hate the sister, I hate Philon. And she's like, what about you, Quant? Don't you hate them too? Because she don't know who he is still. He knows who she is. And he's all like, first he's all like, I'm Canty. They're like, what did you say? He's all like, I'm Cancer. And then he starts making fun of his own people and stuff. And it's just like, they just use him for comedic relief. And so Divis, he knows something strange is going on too. He can feel it and everything, because so he does his druid trick of like big pebble and everything, and so it works on that of Rain, and Rain reveals that he weeps all the time and just cries whenever he thinks about like the Chosen One and all this other weird stuff. And so he tries to use it on Drula, but she kind of like just smacks it out of his hand, isn't affected by it. And so like this is when she starts to talk for the first time and everything. So then he goes to Antidia, and he's all like, it didn't work on her. I doubt it will work on you and everything. So apparently it only works on weak-minded men. That's the only people he's able to bewitch and everything. I'm saying, man, they making all the dudes weak in this. So anyway, she's all like, why don't you try on Anya and everything? Everybody can sense that something's wrong with Anya, but nobody is doing anything about it. So he tries to bewitch Anya, but then Hempa comes through her and reverses the spell and bewitches him. So he's just drooling there all night and into the morning. And so at some point, they go by a village and it's being attacked by the Romans. Kate is very impulsive. She's supposed to be the leader and the chosen one, but she's so impulsive. She's always screwing up. So she goes, and they tell her just leave the village, or people are already dead. So she goes there, and she goes to these people, and they're like, they took my son. So she goes to find the son, find him. And as she's carrying him, he's telling her one will betray you and everything. And so she goes back to the village, and they all like, and then the boy disappears, and so they don't know what happened to him. And the parents are trying to kill Kate. So all like, we have no son, get away from us, and blah 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 blah. So she is starting to sense something strange about Anya too, but again, nobody does nothing. Now, who is this little boy, you might be wondering? Well, remember the general's son? Well, at some point he comes back to him, And the general is kind of like freaking out, like, why are you here and everything. He thinks it's a hallucination, but then Himpa picks him up and walks away, so he knows the boy is real. And so this boy is using Kate and everything to do what he needs and stuff. Um, so Brutus and Philin, and they are captured by the general, and he wants them to tell them everything what happened to Lucius and everything. So the general finally finds Lucius, and so they're making him walk barefooted as they're like going to like this certain campsite. And so he wants to know everything about the spear, but he won't tell him and all this other stuff. And but he's telling him all kind of other things about how this man I killed wasn't a man, and Jesus and stuff like that, and all kind of stuff. So anyway, some strange stuff starts to happen around episode 6 and 7. So, Kate's group, her little fellowship, they go to like this giant bridge and everything. And so everybody is just kind of now like, maybe we should just give up and everything. Antidia is all like, just give up and run away, girl. Like, they'll just pick another chosen one. This isn't your fight. Screw the druids, screw the gods. Antidia hates the gods and the druids because what happened to like her son and everything. Then she tells a story about when she was 14, the Veran sat her on her lap, well, on his lap. And apparently something happened that he took a liking to her. So I'm like, God, now the Vernon's a terrible, monstrous man too? Is it's like, what has happened to this show? All the men are weak, some of them are monsters, and I don't get this mess, man. And so, like, this show used to be so good, and so they had focus in the past, and they're losing their focus now. And so Divis wants to give up. Rain does not, because he's very devoted in religion and stuff. Also Anya like knocked him out in the head one time and stuff because she's under control of Himpa. So anyway, Kate is just kind of like, well, time to be impulsive again, and she decides to go to the bridge on her own, climb it, and take out the guards and try to find Lucius, but Lucius hasn't came there yet. So now she's kind of like, crap, she made some part of it collapse to where it will like stop them. And so as she's going through like, hiding, she's like climbing on top of like, the chariots and stuff trying to find him, but she finds Brutus and finds Philin and everything. So now everybody's like, where is she at? They're like, oh crap, she's like gone being stupid again. So they go to like the bridge, they climb it, but then Divis is starting to freak out. So it's like, is Plika coming back out? So they tie him up. And then so basically all heck happens and everything. It's a huge battle and stuff. And so Antidia is just kind of like, screw all this. She just wants like Agulius and stuff. So they are getting their butts handed to them and stuff. And Kate finally comes face to face with Agulius and everything. She tries to kill him. He tries to kill her. More craziness happens. And then she is unable to do all that, and then she has to like flee and everything. Anya is kind of like in and out of it, trying to like hope that Kate will die, and then she tries. So Kate does this thing where she grabs a rope and she jumps off the top of like the bridge, right, as everybody's still fighting. And we see a flashback of her doing that whole bird wing thing from season 2. So we assume that maybe she's finally gonna turn into a bird. She don't. She falls straight down to the ground like always. Divis, he busts free and he falls to the ground, and then Anya takes Kate away. And so after all this, Drula is left for dead, but then she awakens and everything. The 3 guys are left and they're just pissed. Antidia has left and they're just kind of like, we should never trust Anya, and now they blaming one another, and they're like, well, why didn't you say anything? They're like, well, you didn't say anything. And so they're acting like idiots, so they're trying to track her down and everything. They find this weird man in a tree. He's supposed to be sacrificed, and then his people come out, And they're all like, we're druids. And they're like, we hate druids and everything. And if you were a druid, you wouldn't be on this road and blah, blah, blah. And you have to prove your worth and everything. So what do? They make those three dudes get high. And it's weird. It's not as cool as it was in the first two seasons. But then they are rescued by Drula and everything. And she's pissed at Rain, talking about you left me for the crows and everything. So now, once again, they're looking for a Kate. Well, Anya has Kate. And Anya puts that red twine in her hair, right? And Kate is now subdued by that of Anya, and she just loses her inhibitions, and she's acting all childish and everything. She is slowly being bewitched and everything. But I haven't gotten to something that was interesting. One of the coolest things ever, Vernon. So remember I told you the dude who plays him directed a lot of episodes. He directed this one episode. He directed this one episode where he is a boss. He has decided he's going to take matters in his own hands. He's going to travel, and he's going to go to the Roman camp to kill Hempa, kill Agulius, and kill somebody else. He dresses up like a tree. He bewitches everybody in that Roman camp, and when they look at him, they just see a giant oak tree. He forged his own weapon. Like, you know, the Grim Reaper, he has that huge staff type thing with that curved blade. He forged that. Boy, he is slicing people up left and right. He's busting through the walls with that weapon. Amina and Hempa kind of like crap because she tells Amina that Loka is coming now and everything. So he busts through and he tries to kill Hempa, and they wrestle to the ground and everything. And so like he's about to kill her, but then all of a sudden Amina knocks him out with his weapon. She doesn't kill him for some reason, but she knocks him out, and she rescues Hempa after Hempa was getting ready to kill and like eat her and stuff. I don't understand what's going on with Amina. So then they leave and everything. And then as he's busting through walls looking for everybody, he finds Willow in prison. So he rescues Willow, and then he takes care of her by ridding the darkness out of her so she can no longer be controlled. And that's all we see of them after that. Then Agulius at some point, he's talking to his son. He's all like, "You're not my son," and everything. "Who are you?" And it's Loka. Loka has now come within the shape and form of his son. Agulius goes mad. He starts dancing with his son and everything, and the guards can see that, but they can't see the little boy. They just see Agulius prancing around. So they're just kind of like, what is going on with this man? He has lost his mind. And Amina's all like, "I helped you, I saved you, you wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for me." And she's all like, "Girl, you are stupid. It is Loka that has been helping you since the beginning and everything." Like, and she's all like, "How did you think you was able to save me and everything?" And so this part really doesn't really go nowhere, but they go back to the Roman camp and everything. And so of course, still being bewitched by that, Anya delivers Kate to a certain place. Hempa goes to see Lucius, and they're talking and everything. He draws, this is the part I messed up. He draws a symbol in the mud because she tortures the crap out of him, wanting to know where the spear is at. And he won't tell. He will not tell nobody. And he rather die than have to reveal that. But they know they have to keep him alive because they need that spear. He draws her the Christian symbol, the cross. And that's what he gave to Agulius. It wasn't a sword he forged in a stick, it was a cross. He said it's the symbol of hope and everything. Well, at some point in time, Loka's ready to do his like thing, you know what I'm saying? And so while still bewitched under the red twine, whatchamacallem, Kate is getting a terrible vision. It's Loka, like all on top of her, trying to kill her and everything. At some point in time, so it's like she's hallucinating. So she's out in the beach and she's pretending like she's fighting Loka and everything. Loka's in like the cell with the rest of the prisoners, and he's like holding her up against the wall. Now they show his monstrous form. It looks like that of like the devil and everything. When the devil is like that of a goat's face and like horns and everything, very and then so it's like it's that form. So is he the actual devil or something like that? Because they've said the devil's name before, but not him. So I don't know. But anyway, it probably is since they're doing the whole biblical thing. And somehow Kate is able to hear her sister's voice and hear the Vernon's voice. And she's able to now fight this like hallucination demon thing. And she uses her thumbs to like drive him into the eye sockets of like Loka, killing him. And he just vanishes. And it's just like, she killed him? Like, how exactly? Now, when he was wrestling with her on the ground, it looked like she was forming a pregnant stomach or something like that. But anyway, so yeah. So then she grabs on to like Anya and she, well, no, when she kills Loka, he dies and then all the evil stuff comes out of Anya. So now she's back to normal and everything. So now Kate, back to being her impulsive self, heads to that of like the camp where the Roman camp where Lucius is being held. And she goes there with a giant like staff and then so of course Lucius, not Lucius, but what's his name? Agulius. This is what's so weird and everything, right? Kate thinking she's this like tough girl is gonna like bust through like, you know, the Roman camp and she's going to like tell the guards off and everything. It's just kind of like, who do you think you are? And she has her staff and she's hitting on the ground and it's this big powerful moment and Agulius is just like kill her and everything and the guards are just kind of like they're about to until she scares them and they go like back and everything and then she tells them kneel before me or something like that, right? And then so all of a sudden we see like arrows, flaming arrows go over like the fence and it's killing the guards. And who is it? Antidia went to go get some more like warrior type people. And they are later greeted by Kate's fellowship and everything. And so it's this huge battle left and right. And so we see Kate talking to that Lucius. And I'm thinking to myself, doesn't she supposed to have magic powers? Isn't she supposed to be able to bewitch people? Why isn't she able to do that to them? Why isn't she turning herself into like the air? Why isn't she doing any of this? How is she supposed to defeat anybody? What exactly is her power set? So the show is not very clear on none of that. So it's becoming bad writing, but interesting bad writing. So then after that, she talks to Lucius and he tells her where the spear is at. But then Hempa comes in. And so Hempa has her crossbow. She kills Lucius. She's about to kill Kate. But then all of a sudden, Amina stops her. Whose side is she on and why? So Kate gets shot in the leg. She tries to like crawl on out of there. A huge battle happens. Amina slits the throat of Hempa and stuff. And then this is what all the strange stuff happens after this. Dibbs, he takes Kate in his arms and they're all getting out of there. And with her team of like fellowship people. Then all of a sudden we keep hearing from Hempa, because Hempa is talking to Amina and now Antidia. For some reason they have joined forces and she's all like, one will betray you, one will betray you. And we see then Dibbs, he stops, turns around, and goes back to the Roman camp. And I'm just like, oh no, he's still bewitched by that of Hempa and everything. But how exactly? So he goes back to the camp and he gives Agulius that of Kate's body. The rest of the group's all like, where's Dibbs and everything? And so then all of a sudden, the strangest thing just happens. Dibbs, he goes to the beach and he's all kind of like, what have I done? So he takes off his shoes and he sees red twine on his toe. At some point in time, Anya wrapped it around there. And so like, then the weirdest thing happens. We don't know how much time has passed, but time has passed. We see Kate. She's walking through the halls. Her wounds have been healed. Her hair is nicely done. She's dressed in Roman clothes, a Roman dress. And we see Agulius next to her side. They're in Rome, looking over the people. I'm just like, what the world has happened? And I'm just like, where's the focus of this show gone? What story are they now trying to tell? It's just like they're putting themselves in a weird corner, trying to be bigger and better, but it's not really paying off, and it's just going in one weird direction after another. So now she's in Rome and everything. So it's kind of like, what is season 4, if they get a season 4, gonna be about? Also, it's just strange how, like, whose side is Amina on and everything, you know? Divis is now distraught because he's the one who betrayed everybody. And not to mention, okay, Philin and that of Anya, they only had a couple of seconds of screen time together. It was in like the 7th episode, he tries to talk to her and she just doesn't really talk to him and like walks away. Well, she talks to him a little bit and she walks away. Like, she gets kind of rude and snippy with him. I'm just like, that's the only screen time those two have, and they had a son together. Like, where is the writing going? Why is feeling like such comedic relief now? Is Hempa dead? I mean, she got her throat slit, but then, you know, death isn't necessarily everything in this show, and it's just kind of like, my problem is I don't know the direction this show is going in no more. It's just weird, and it's trying to be bigger and better than the other seasons, but it's coming off as just weird kind of writing. They spent this entire season with nothing more but filler. It was filler of Kate grifting people. It was filler of her and her fellowship just traveling the land, doing absolutely nothing. And then it was like an almost disappointing finale and everything. I don't know what the world is happening with this show, but they need to get back on track, and they need to like end it at some point, because it can't keep going on forever and ever. Now, when it comes to Kate's fellowship, her little fellowship of the rings, as I like to call it, I don't understand why she picked these certain people, other than the fact that they're main characters on the show. Because none of them have any fighting experience. Divis, he can bewitch a person, but we've never seen him. Well, we saw him fight. We saw him fight Hela. So he had some skills, but she still whooped him and almost killed him and everything. And we see he has skills with a bow. However, in this new season, Philon tries to teach him how to use a bow, and Divis actually doesn't know at all, and he actually misses and cuts like 2 people with the arrow. And it's kind of like, well, what happened to his skills in the 2nd season? Because in the 2nd season, we know he knows how to use a bow and everything, because he killed Harka and stuff. So that don't make no sense. It's just that weird how they're making the guys weak this season. But he knows how to fight, but now all of a sudden he doesn't. Then there's Philon and everything, and he's just so cowardly this season. He doesn't even know how to fight whatsoever. He always runs and cowers and everything. Rain, we never see him fight, but we see him just use his bow and arrow every once in a while. Kate does not know how to fight and everything. Queen Antidia, we've never seen her truly fight. We see her kind of like ambush people, so therefore she doesn't really know how to fight that well, mainly because of her age. But then there's Drula and everything, and we didn't know she knew how to fight until we found out later she can, and we know Anya can fight. So it's just like she has this weird group that's supposed to help her, but yet nobody really knows how to fight. Now, I will say, as I'm wrapping this up, I will say that the great landscape visuals, they came back this season. Thank God, because there really wasn't none in season 2 until towards the end. Now, I will say one thing that's interesting about Kate being in Rome. This kind of makes sense to that of the prophecy, the first one we saw in the 1st season, because remember, she was dressed in Roman clothes and holding up Roman symbols. And then in the 2nd and 3rd season, the prophecy shifted and changed to where she looks different and dressed different and now holding a spear. And so now her being in Rome, this kind of makes a little sense as to why she had Roman clothes on in that first prophecy and everything. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.